Hi, very good morning to you. It's Jim from maverickstar Observatory. I know we're running a couple of days late on the latest positioning of the magnetic North Pole. We usually do it on the 17th, if you guys know, but unfortunately due to circumstances we've had to push it off a couple of days, but we are here to deliver today on the 19th the latest magnetic North Pole position, show you the Trimag data which is up live on the website already, and the magnetosphere data, and just briefly go over those things. Before we get into that, a big thanks over the last few days for those people that have chipped in a little bit towards the observatory. And I have to say this, guys, now more than ever is a time where we should be raising support for this observatory because of the importance of the topic and the work and the data collecting that we do, and passing that over to you guys at the end of the day. But without your funding, we are going to struggle more and more to put more equipment out when we should be doing that right now. As we get closer to that 40-degree mark, I will just briefly say that nothing has changed in the last 4 months. That we've noticed the increase of the rate of around about 20% increase in speed of the migrating pole this year. So there has definitely been a slight change where something has affected it. Now I'm going to give you my conclusion on that later on in the video, but I have to emphasize the importance of keeping this funding. I know that there have been a few people that have stayed with me over the last few years that we've been doing this, and then obviously they realize the importance of what this means. We have a media blackout almost with regards to this geo anomaly which is taking place, the magnetic reversal, completely across all ranges of these big organisations like the ESA, NASA, NOAA, and we also have a blackout of information as a result of that with mainstream media. There's no communications between the media and mainstream organisations, and it leaves it down to small observatories, and we're rare because I don't know of any other small observatory that has the same equipment that we do, because it's very bespoke, and the costs involved in just getting that equipment up and running and reliable like we've got, touch wood, would be more than enough to put people off doing it on a slightly more professional level like what we do here at the observatory. There's a lot of work that goes on. It's not just keeping up to date with the maintenance on the equipment that we've got here in the UK. As you know, we've got it around the world as well. It's also keeping those superstars that we've got out there enthusiastic and keeping them sending the data to us from those locations, and we've got some key spots covered. We have got some work to do over the next 12 months in trying to secure magnetometers in countries like Russia, key spots, and also Brazil and South Africa. So our work is far from done here, and we can do a little bit more, and we can collect a little bit more data from these locations, which just improves our chances of being able to predict what to expect in the near future as we approach that theoretical 40-degree mark. And this is an important marker because at some point the magnetic North Pole is going to migrate over into the weak field lines. That means it's going to start migrating a lot quicker. At that point, it seems theoretically reasonable to assume that things that we've been watching over the last 30 years with a slow changing migrating pole with regards to climate could accelerate at that point, and we are less than 18 months away from crossing that mark. So moving on with we'll have a quick look at the magnetosphere data that we've collected from the 17th of the 8th last month to the present day. I popped out the SD cards this morning. I mean, it's Sunday morning here in the UK, and for the last hour or so I've been processing these graphs for us and entering them onto the website's archives. So you can see we have over the last few months a slight increase in the magnetosphere strength. It's gone up over and above at some points the 200 on the left hand column. So, and as you can see, it sputters along, but that is perfectly normal for it to do. But it is strange when you see, and you go over the archive, a slight increase from 198 then going up over 200 microteslas. It doesn't represent that left hand column, by the way. the actual strength of microteslas. What that just gives us is a broad range above 200 and below 200. So if something does dramatically change, we'll see. If we set it at 0, something quite odd would happen due to the way we've programmed these magnetosphere sensors. What that would do is it flick back over to 360. So if it went below 0, it would then go to 360, and then 350, 340. So that's why we set the left hand bar so high. So we've got quite a big range between 360 and 0, and it really is just to give us an indication of a benchmark on where we start to see it changing. So this is the sort of thing, when you're programming this equipment, you have to take these things into consideration. But in general, things are ticking on averagely normal, and there's nothing really dramatic that's been happening over the last month collecting the data, other than the fact it did go over 200 on the left hand bar and then started to, as it normally does, fluctuate between 2 microteslas. So having a quick look at the TriMag data over the last month, we can see things are still edging over the 13 degree on the left hand column. And again, the left hand column is just a representation. It was calibrated at 10 for the same reason as the magnetosphere, so that we've got plenty of fluctuation below 10 and plenty above it. But again, it is just a benchmark. We set a benchmark so that we can see how it changes from that point, and we allow ourselves a little bit of alleviation, a plus and minus on the chart. But what it does indicate is that it is still migrating at the same speed over the last 5 months as it has done already. And this, I believe, is the beginnings of some probably dramatic changes, what we're going to see in the next 18 months. And I'm going to show you why now when we go to Earth, Google Earth, and have a look at the placemats of where we've been plotting over the last 5 months, so you can see where I'm talking about. So let's go over to there then. So as you can see, we've travelled, and I'll highlight it on the ruler in a minute so you can see the distance, but you can see that we've travelled around 4.98 miles over the last month. So it very much is following the same pattern as what we've witnessed, albeit 0.02 of a mile less than what the last month's recordings was. But nevertheless, it's in that same ballpark. It is migrating faster than what it did 5 months ago, and is still tracking towards central Russia, and I'm going to zoom out in a minute. But before that, for you guys that are following it on your own Google Earth maps and you want to put the pin marks in, the latitude is 82 degrees by 55 hours 3 minutes 19 seconds north, by the longitude 120 degrees 57 hours 43 minutes by 96 seconds east. Those are your grid references for your pin, and we will just before we do anything else, what I want to do is just save the place mark. Simple, just click OK, and that puts the place mark in, and now the ruler is highlighted, and you can see that the distance between last month's mark and this month's mark is 4.98 miles, so just shy of 5 miles. So like I say, we're still in the ball point for that. So I'll just remove the measuring tool now. What I want to do is just zoom out for you guys so you can see where the latest pin mark is. Now if you're looking at the back of the map, just forget the pin marks, or actually just pay attention to the last pin mark in conjunction where it is. When I zoom out, you'll see that it's crossing the North Mid-Atlantic ridgeline. And I just want to ask the question, is that why the magnetic North Pole is now migrating a lot faster? The other thing is, you can see just on the other side of that ridge the 40 degree mark. And is it by any coincidence that when we started to enter over the ridge, which is an active region of our Earth, volcanicity wise, is that why we are seeing an increase in the speed as it passes over the ridge? towards the 40-degree mark. Well, I'm just going to zoom out now so you can see also. I know the video might be out of slight sync with the audio, but you can see that we are still tracking along that corridor to central Russia. And where this pin mark is here is where the epicenter of the strongest field over central Russia is right now. And it is for this reason where that intensity is so high, is the reason why the pole has started to be pulled away from Canada. And as I suppose we get closer to it, it is going to start accelerating. And I think we're coming up, when we say that our 40-degree mark is that crossing point, I think we're very close and accurate in saying that. But time will tell, and we're not that far away from finding out for ourselves. If we do cross that 40-degree mark, then we're going to see an acceleration in the things that we've already witnessed taking place over the last 30 years with regards to our climate. Only difference will be at that point is that there will be probably on more extreme event levels than what we've seen, because the magnetosphere at that point will be a lot weaker, and there'll be a lot more interaction in our upper atmosphere with cosmic rays. That means that we could see at that point a real big spike in cancer rates and cardiac arrhythmic effects, probably leading to heart attacks, etc., and things like that. And what you have to remember is, we just take for granted that we're the important species on this planet, but there is quite a diverse range of species, and that this doesn't affect just us. So if we think about the climatic effects on the food production of the planet, that's one thing, but also think of the fact that these crops will be damaged because of the high levels of radiation at that point. It just doesn't affect ourselves as human beings, it affects every species on the planet. So when we cross that 40-degree mark, we could probably also expect to see a lot more crop failures as a result of an increase in radiation. And if the grand solar minimum doesn't shake itself up and move into a stronger solar cycle 25, and you've seen the charts as well as I have, guys, there is no indication of that being the case, because it doesn't seem like we've even reached the equilibrium point with regards to that even. And we probably won't reach equilibrium points to the magnetic North Pole until we cross that interaction between strong and weak field lines, which is most likely around the 40-degree mark, if we're correct in our assumptions and what we've been following here at the observatory. It has been great to pick up on this slight increase of 20% over the last 5 months, especially when we are moving upon that 40-degree mark. What that tells us is that it is likely that we are correct in assuming that that is the point of where things dramatically change. That could be the exact point where we cross from strong field lines to weak field lines, and we have an increased magnetic reversal from that point. How long it takes to do its reversal is anyone's best guess, but what I would presume is that it's not going to go all the way over straight away. It is going to move rapidly through from 40 degrees to 40 degrees south, but it's going to probably take another 100 years to finally settle down in its final resting spot. That is, if we are in a completed magnetic reversal. And the reason why I believe it is, as you guys know, and I've mentioned this many times, is because we are 500,000 years overdue on this event already. We have to always have respect for these natural anomalies, even though they are rare, that they do take place. And the other thing is that, as a species on this planet, we're going to go through this for the very first time. We're not crocodiles, and if crocodiles could talk, they would have passed down the information what happened during the last magnetic reversal, and would have informed their offspring further down the line that there was an event that they needed to possibly be aware of. We don't have none of that, guys. We have nothing. None of the archaeology clearly points to disastrous times, and we shouldn't expect it to either, because as a species we've been on this planet 42,000 years, and the last time the magnetic reversal took place was 780,000 years. So a massive difference between us even being Homo sapiens and this event occurring. So what we can do is our best in just recording what's going on, and that's what we're doing here at the observatory with our equipment and the help from a few other enthusiastic people around the world who we call our superstars, and just do the best we can to inform ourselves. And some people say to me, Gene, they know these organisations exactly what's going on and they know the consequences and they do not want to cause panic. I'll just remind you that on 2 occasions over the time of studying the magnetic fields, I've had 2 emails from 2 different people in NASA say to me, we're aware of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and we know what could possibly be the end result of that, but we're just not going to come out and tell the public because they're not sure that that is going to be leading to a catastrophe, and they're not sure it's going to be a normal event, and for that reason they're not going to make any statements on it, because I think they've got credibility to hold on to at these organisations, and by getting it completely wrong could damage their image. So that's probably why these organisations are not forthcoming on the event. But you know what? It does make you wonder, like I have seen over the last 5 years, the director of NASA come out and tell people to start making some preparations for, a possible disastrous event. That has got to make you think, hasn't it? Because that statement on itself, if it wasn't known that there was something, it could be something else, it could be something completely different from the magnetic field that he's talking about, but he's definitely talking about people being prepared for a certain catastrophe that could happen. And I think that you need to read in between the lines on things like that. When these top people from these organisations do come out and say just something, they don't give you a full accurate account of why you should be preparing, which is what we all want to know, because then we'll be on the ball with them, following whatever they know more clearly. I'm just saying that the magnetic North Pole reversal on this planet is probably the topic that they may be talking about, because of the severity of all the events that could lead off of this. I'm talking about grid down situations. We were already in a situation right now that if we did have a moderate CME off the sun, coronal mass ejection, it could take down the infrastructure very quickly, and we're heavily reliant on technology, and we only have to go back to the Carrington event when this last happened. So these events do happen on our planet. When it last happened, it was just, I think, a good thing that we wasn't reliant so much on technology. It, at that point, just burnt down the telegraph poles, the cables, fried them. If it happened right now, it would definitely cause a grid down situation. The logistics would stop internationally. Food would disappear off the shelves. It would become a catastrophic event because we are so reliant on technology, keeping our fine-tuned world running. Any infrastructure damage to the grid or other things, high-tech equipment that monitor and regulate a lot of actuation systems, like in nuclear power plants, could lead to global disasters very quickly. So it's very important, and there's a lot that is revolving around the magnetic North Pole. Guys, it is one of the most important days when we do the latest release on the position of the magnetic North Pole, and I can just only hope that a lot more people do realise the importance of what we do with regards to this data. It doesn't come for nothing. That's what you have to remember. This is not free information. It comes at a cost, regardless of what some people think. Without the funding and the public funding, because that's all we rely on here, we can't carry on collecting the data as we do, and we don't want to change things so that we just make it feasible for those that pay. We are all in this as a species globally, And here's an opportunity for you to fund, wherever you are in this world, an observatory that is monitoring probably one of the rarest events that will ever happen in a human's life. And we're doing that right now, and you can join in and help us. And if you want to, there's a link on the website, and there's also a link down there in the description where you can do that if you want to. The only other thing to say is, guys, I hope you enjoyed the latest update of the magnetic North Pole, and we'll be back next month. But in between that, we'll keep you updated with Earth health events and other related incidents as they happen around the world. So enjoy your day with your family, take care of them, and as always, bye for now.